There are so many teams that are just missing that one little thing.
What do you expect from the Commanders this fall?
If Sam Howell plays to the way that they had him graded coming out of the draft, this is a playoff caliber football team if they treat him like a young Russell Wilson.
Some teams just need one more piece to that puzzle. Today, here are 10 NFL teams that are only one piece away from becoming legit Super Bowl contenders. New England Patriots, a WR1. The current Patriots check off quite a few boxes on the championship contenders checklist. The best head coach ever, a top 5 defense, top 10 offensive line, and a capable 1,000-yard rusher in Ramondre Stevenson. No, Mac Jones isn't Tom Brady, but we saw enough at Alabama in his rookie year to be convinced that he can be a true franchise quarterback. All Jones needs now is an actual number 1 wideout, which New England hasn't had since Julian Edelman's last healthy season way back when in 2019. Devontae Parker, Kendrick Bourne, and Juju Smith-Schuster are better suited in number 2 or number 3 roles. But could you imagine if this team had a consistent 1,000-yard receiving threat to open up the offense? Someone like DeAndre Hopkins or a top college prospect like Zay Flowers, Jordan Addison, or Jackson Smith-Njigba would sure look good in Foxborough. The Patriots have plenty of C-plus level playmakers on offense, but no one who can consistently take over games the way guys like Rob Gronkowski and Randy Moss did for New England in the past. Washington Commanders, a quarterback. The Commanders have fielded a top 10 defense in 2 of Ron Rivera's 3 seasons on the job. Terry McLaurin is a consistent 1,000-yard receiver, Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson Jr. lead a steady backfield, and a healthy Jahan Dotson could grow into a Pro Bowl caliber wideout down the road. In some ways, it's actually pretty amazing that Washington won 7 games with 4 different QBs in 2020, and 7 with Taylor Heineke in 2021, and 8 with Heineke, Carson Wentz, and Sam Howell in 2022. Look, no offense, but those aren't exactly household names under center. And yet, the Commanders have consistently been in the playoff race thanks to their defense and a solid set of offensive weapons. Now imagine if the Commanders had a top 10 starting quarterback. We know how high Rivera is on Howell, but what if the Commanders landed someone like Lamar Jackson? Then there'd be a bona fide Super Bowl contender. Pittsburgh Steelers, a franchise offensive tackle. The Steelers crushed their last 2 draft classes, and it has them on the path to contending for another Super Bowl. They have their new franchise quarterback in Kenny Pickett, and 2 capable wideouts in Deontay Johnson and 2022 second-round pick George Pickens, and a star running back in Najee Harris. That underrated defense has 2 cornerstones in TJ Watt and Minkah Fitzpatrick. Cameron Hayward is enjoying the fountain of youth, and Alex Highsmith has shown signs of rising to superstardom in 2023. Now, if the Steelers could just find a true franchise offensive tackle that could solidify this O-line, then they would be ready to return to the class of the AFC's elite. The 2023 NFL Draft is loaded with potential All-Pro level tackles, including Northwestern's Peter Skoronski, Georgia's Broderick Jones, and Ohio State's Paris Johnson Jr. The interior O-line and center Mason Cole look fine as is. Just one more pass protector, please, and thank you. Seattle Seahawks, a star defensive lineman. The Seahawks were supposed to have a lot of flaws last year, but then some funny things happened. You see, Geno Smith, the 2022 Comeback Player of the Year, turned in a career season. The offensive line was bolstered by the arrivals of rookie Charles Cross and Abe Lucas. The secondary also improved thanks to the presence of rookie corners Tariq Woolen and Kobe Bryant. This all added up to a 9-win season and a return to the postseason. Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf are one of football's elite receiving duos, and Kenneth Walker will be a consistent 1,000-yard threat. So, how can the Seahawks go from wildcard team to Super Bowl contender? Well, it's rather simple. They just need one more star on the defensive line. Bringing back old friend and linebacker Bobby Wagner was a good way to improve the front 7, as was the free agent signing of ex-Denver Broncos defensive end Draymond Jones. The top teams in the NFC, like the San Francisco 49ers, Dallas Cowboys, and Philadelphia Eagles, have elite front 7s loaded with depth, especially along the defensive line. Seattle, on the other hand, well, it doesn't have a true all-pro level defensive end or pass rusher to consistently take over games. The offense is pretty much set. The linebacking core and secondary looks pretty dang good. Seattle just needs to find their next Michael Bennett or Cliff Averill. New York Giants, a WR1. The Giants made significant progress in year one of the Brian Daboll-Joe Schoen era. Daboll turned Daniel Jones into a quality starting quarterback. The offensive line no longer sucked, and a healthy Saquon Barkley crossed 1,000 yards again. The young defense also took considerable strides and should only get better over time. But if there was one weakness on that roster, it's got to be the pass-catching group. Darius Slayton led the team with just 724 receiving yards. After him, it was Richie James with 569 receiving yards. In fact, Barkley, a running back, tied Richie James for the team lead in receptions with 57. So, yeah, the Giants, like the aforementioned Patriots, need a true number one wideout. Trading for ex-Las Vegas Raiders Pro Bowl tight end Darren Waller was a pretty nice start, but he's injury-prone, and he's also not a wide receiver. Just imagine how a guy like DeAndre Hopkins would change this offense. Or if Shane were to hit a home run at the draft by selecting a top wideout. Jones and Barkley are scary enough as is, but what if the G-Man had a superstar receiver to add another dimension to this offense? The Giants are almost there. They are so close. They just need that one game-breaking wideout to emerge as a yearly Super Bowl championship contender, and it's Shane's job to go out and find him. Los Angeles Chargers, a game-wrecking linebacker. Justin Herbert is arguably a top 5 quarterback in the game. The O-line has 3 gems in veteran Corey Linsley and youngsters Rashawn Slater and Jamari Salyer. If Zion Johnson can actually figure it out at guard, the Bolts could have a top 5 O-line in the NFL in relatively short time. The front 7 is led by edge rushers Khalil Mack and Joey Bosa. Asante Samuel Jr. and Derwin James Jr. headline a solid secondary that should only get better over time. But the Chargers are relatively weak at the linebacker position. Kenneth Murray hasn't panned out, and free agent pickup Eric Kendricks has a ton to prove after a lackluster end to his tenure in Minnesota. We would have loved for the Chargers to land someone like Levante David, Tremaine Edwards, or TJ Edwards in free agency. The Bolts need a quality run-stopping linebacker and someone who can complement the pass-rushing duo of Mack and Bosa. If the Bolts can find that, their D will be pretty much set, and they may finally stop underachieving for once. And then they'll be ready to make a Super Bowl run. Miami Dolphins, interior offensive linemen. The Dolphins have made nice progress after years of mediocrity. 2022 marked their 3rd straight winning season for starters, and in year 1 of the Mike McDaniel era, they put an end to their 6-year playoff drought. Not only that, but Miami nearly upset a heavily favored Buffalo Bills team on wildcard weekend with 3rd-string quarterback Skylar Thompson. Tua Tagovailoa proved he is a franchise QB when healthy. Tyreek Hill and Jalen Waddle are the best receiving duo in football. Jeff Wilson and Raheem Mostert are a fine backfield tandem. The defense may have football's best cornerback duo in Xavier Howard and Jalen Ramsey, and they'll be aided by a pass rush that includes 2022 trade deadline acquisition Bradley Chubb. Now, if Miami could just get one above-average guard to fill out their offensive line. Veteran Terron Armstead is a rock at the tackle position. Connor Williams looks like a true franchise center following the position switch, but Liam Eichenberg and Robert Hunt leave a lot to be desired at guard. Miami's interior O-line has been a problem for a while now, and Tua is going to have problems staying upright if it's not addressed. Find one stud guard, and Miami will be ready to roll as a Super Bowl contender. Detroit Lions, a lockdown corner. Jared Goff looked like a long-time starting QB after a very stellar 2022 season, and he's only going to get better from here. Why? Well, 2022 first-round wide receiver Jamison Williams is destined to be a superstar after sitting out most of his rookie season while recovering from an ACL injury. And Amon-Ra St. Brown has quickly established himself as one of the top pass catchers in all of football. DeAndre Swift and the newly acquired David Montgomery round out a top-level backfield. Oh, and that O-line will remain a force with Frank Ragnow, Taylor Decker, and Penei Sewell entering their prime years. Aiden Hutchinson is a rising star on the D-line. Malcolm Rodriguez could be a multi-time Pro Bowler at linebacker. CJ Gardner-Johnson, Tracy Walker, and Kirby Joseph lead a strong group of safeties. But the Lions still have a pressing need for a top-level cornerback. 2020 first-rounder Jeff Okudah has been hit by injuries early in his career, and the Lions can't consider him a foundational piece at this time. With 2 first-round picks, the Lions could take 1 or even 2 lockdown corners. Devin Witherspoon, Deontay Banks, Christian Gonzalez, and Joey Porter Jr. would all fit the bill. Bottom line, Detroit has shored up most of its roster flaws under GM Brad Holmes. They are one Pro Bowl level shutdown corner away from being a Super Bowl contender in a relatively weak NFC. Denver Broncos. A Pro Bowl level pass protector, the Broncos allowed a league-high 63 sacks last season. Denver's D has been overlooked for a while, but it's truly a championship-level unit. And with Hall of Fame-worthy head coach Sean Payton in the fold, Denver has one major box checked off. The Broncos threw $87.5 million at ex-49ers offensive tackle Mike McGlinchey. While he is an elite run blocker, McGlinchey isn't anything close to Pro Bowl caliber as a pass protector. Guard Ben Powers was also overpaid in free agency and isn't going to single-handedly fix this unit either. The Broncos don't have any true star-level offensive linemen, and that's gonna have to change soon. You need to be good in the trenches to win, but the Broncos O-line is still a bottom 5 unit, and Wilson's scrambling ability isn't going to mask the pass protection issues. The expectation is that Wilson will bounce back with Peyton calling the shots, but it'll also take some drastic improvement from the O-line to help Denver rebound. And they won't get there without one more star offensive lineman. Minnesota Vikings, a shutdown defensive back. Hate on Kirk Cousins all you want, but this is a top 10 offense thanks mostly to him, along with the help of Justin Jefferson, Dalvin Cook, and TJ Hawkinson. The O-line is good enough, and the Danielle Hunter, Zadarius Smith, Marcus Davenport-led front seven is more than capable of getting the job done. But the Vikings' pass defense is an absolute mess, and it cost them dearly in the playoffs. Star safety Harrison Smith is getting up there in age, and this current Vikings cornerback group might be the worst in the whole NFL. Good thing the 2023 NFL draft is loaded with elite defensive backs. If Minnie could just find one legitimate shutdown corner who could take away the opposition's top receiver, the pass rush would get home more often, and thus this team would be ready for a deep playoff run. There is a lot to love about Kevin O'Connell's group, but until Minnie gets a true game-changing defensive back, they won't be good enough to endure a Super Bowl run. Let's see if they can change that before Week 1. But which other NFL teams are one piece away from contending for the Super Bowl in 2023? Let us know in the comment section below. If you like this video and learned a thing or two, clicking the like button helps out a ton. And hey, we appreciate it. If this is your first time coming around to TPS though, subscribing is a great idea because we put out videos like this every single day. But as always, thanks for watching and we'll see you guys next time.